What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Into the Pit. I'm Dr. Gutts.
I'm Hellhound.
And we were just having a fun little discussion, decided to make a video about it. We want to play a little bit of metal this or that. So what we're going to do is take turns. I'll just name two bands. He chooses which band between those he likes more, or something of the sort.
Or albums, or musicians, or songs.
However we decide to do it. We're just
something metal related.
We're just talking, so we're like, yeah, why not record it? And explain why. So, for instance, for the first one, I want to say Iron Maiden or Judas Priest.
That's hard. Honestly, I'm going to go Judas Priest overall, mostly because of Rob Halford's vocals. He's my favorite singer of all time, and I prefer him over Bruce Dickinson. Now, the rest of the musicians, I'm going to go with Iron Maiden. I think Dave Murray and Adrian Smith are better than Glenn Tipton and KK Downing by a hair. And Yannick Gears, I guess, by a hair. Steve Harris is my favorite bassist, so obviously he wins over Ian Hill. And I think Clive Burr and Nika McBrain, for the most part, are probably better than most of the drummers Judas Priest has had. I mean, they've had some great drummers. Les Binks, Dave Holland, Scott Travis. They've had some great drummers, too. Who
was the drummer for Painkiller?
Scott Travis, I believe.
Okay.
I think he's their current drummer. I can never keep up with their drummers. They change them like I change my clothes. But I think he was their drummer.
As versed as you are in Judas Priest, but I know the drum work in that album.
Even I can't keep up with their drummers, but I think he was the drummer from like '89 up until now. I think he's been their drummer since then. So I think Painkiller might have been his first album, and he's still. Don't quote me on that because I'm not completely sure. I need to brush up my knowledge of Judas Priest drummers, but overall I think Judas Priest is a better band. I think Iron Maiden may have been more consistent, though.
I guess when it comes to your songs?
Like back-to-back albums. They've had more consecutive great albums, but like when you compare Judas Priest's best stuff to Iron Maiden's best stuff, I'm going to go with Priest.
What would you consider both their best albums being?
Oh, gosh.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah. Judas Priest, Sad Wings of Destiny, definitely.
Okay.
And Iron Maiden... either Peace of Mind or Power Slave. Okay. Let's go with Power Slave. And I think Sad Wings Destiny is better than Power Slave by a hair. So I'll go with Judas Priest on that one.
Killer.
So you get a basic idea. We're going to do this or that, but we got to explain why. Because otherwise, we're not just going to name the answer. Otherwise, that'd be boring. We got to get an explanation too.
Yeah, I've seen this or that videos where they just back and forth like rapid fire.
Yeah,
we're not going to do that.
Kind of boring.
We like to talk. We like to talk a lot. That's what we're going to do.
We're going to explain our answers because it makes more of a valid discussion, more interesting. All right, so I guess my turn to ask him one, and that's going to be another two bands that are often compared, Metallica or Megadeth?
Ooh.
Which one do you like better, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest?
Ooh, Iron Maiden for me.
Awesome.
I love Priest. I shouldn't say I love Priest. I really like Priest. But I don't listen to them that much. I find myself not putting on their stuff. But every time their stuff's on, I enjoy it, if that makes sense.
I can see that.
But Maiden, I actively seek out Maiden songs. So I guess that would lend to me liking Maiden a little more.
Yeah, I think they've been more consistent. But yeah, anyway, Metallica or Megadeth?
For me, it would have to be Metallica. I would say Metallica's first three albums are borderline untouchable, and their fourth album is really good as well. Kill 'Em All is obviously the first thrash metal album. It's the one that kind of sparked everything. It's the one that other bands that became big thrash bands heard and made them become thrash. Then, of course, you have Ride the Lightning is a pure masterpiece. Then, of course, Master of Puppets is phenomenal. Master of Puppets is actually my favorite, even though it's the obvious choice.
I think mine's Ride the Lightning. But it's close.
Mine was Ride the Lightning for a while, actually. Yeah. But there's just something about, and really it's the song Master of Puppets, that interlude in the middle that goes into the solo.
Oh, everybody loves that.
I think is
so awesome.
I personally think it might be the greatest music part ever written in a song. I would go that far. Megadeth I love. I genuinely love Megadeth. But nothing Megadeth has done compares to the first two Metallica albums.
Rust in Peace
would be very close.
And I'd even say Peace Sells. They both come close.
Rust in Peace and Peace Sells would be very close. To coming to those, I would say I like Rust in Peace better than I like probably Kill 'Em All, but I think I like Ride the Lightning and Master Puppets more than I like Rust in Peace, but not by much. I love Rust in Peace, but when it comes to those first three albums, I know Metallica became like what they are today. I'm not going to get too into that. I'm not a big fan. But their first three albums are so legendary and untouchable that nothing Megadeth has done has even come close.
Yeah, I agree. I'd say like Metallica's first 3 albums are better than anything Megadeth's done, except maybe Rust in Peace, but that's close. But I think pretty much anything Megadeth's done is better than anything after Master of Puppets. Except like I wouldn't say like Risk is better than Risk and Super Collider aren't better than and Justice for All, but
I would say after and Justice for All.
Okay, and after Justice, yeah. You're right,
I think Megadeth's discography is better, but I don't really like. See, I like a few Megadeth albums, but I do like a few Megadeth albums after those albums. So like, I like Up to Countdown to Extinction. We actually just talking about this. I like Up to Countdown to Extinction, and then I like United Abominations and Endgame.
For sure.
I'm not a fan of anything in between, and I don't like Dystopia 13 or Super Collider.
Super Collider
they don't really do it
awful.
for me.
Yeah, I was very disappointed with that. I like United Abominations.
Yeah.
I think that was their last.
But then Metallica, like after And Justice for All, like Hardwired has a couple really good songs, and Death Magnetic has a couple good songs. But they're not good albums.
And I don't think Megadeth has anything quite as bad as Saint Anger. So Risk and Super Collider probably come close, but I think Saint Anger is like the lowest of the low. Like it's almost hard to stoop that low.
I would say Saint Anger is better than Load and Reload, but that's not saying much because those albums are complete trash.
Yeah, it's close. I don't know. I think Reload's almost just as bad. But I think Load's a little better than Saint Anger.
I don't know. I think Saint Anger is at least
catchier,
it at least tries to be thrashy. They at least pretended to be metal.
Yeah, but no guitar solos. The drum tone is all wrong. Sounds like a tin.
The drums are the best part because they're. It's like the drums are a cult.
Well, it's almost like laughably bad. It's almost like a guilty pleasure. It's almost like you'd look stupid and make fun of how bad it is. You can enjoy it on that level. With Load and Reload, just like they're depressingly bad. It's just like frustrating.
Like Saint Anger's funnily bad.
Load has a couple songs
funnily
bad.
It's funny and. English? I don't know. Yeah. But like the beginning of Dirty Window, it's like do. That's
so hilarious. It's like so bad that it's funny.
That's funny stuff. So let me think.
I think Megadeth's been more consistent.
I want to try to taper
for the most part.
Taper my questions to you to things that I want that you would have a hard time choosing between.
So it's your turn now.
So I'm going to say Black Sabbath with Ozzy, Black Sabbath with Dio.
Oh, I was going to ask you that too. This could be our next question. All right, so this is very complicated. Okay, I think Ronnie James Dio is a far better vocalist than Ozzy Osbourne. However, on singing ability alone, Dio wins. However, Black Sabbath obviously has more good songs with Ozzy because they have more songs with Ozzy. There's
That's true.
9 albums, counting 13 with Ozzy. But the original 8 from the 70s.
Is that quantity over quality, though?
Could be. But whereas Dio has 4 albums with them, Heaven and Hell, Mob Rules, Dehumanizer, and Devil You Know, which was released under the Heaven and Hell moniker. So they have 4 albums versus 9. So obviously there's more good songs with Ozzy because there's more. Now, when I think of Black Sabbath, I do think of the Ozzy era. I think of, it's a little more classic and more iconic, songs, all those songs, Paranoid, Iron Man, War Pigs, everybody knows those songs, and there's songs people don't talk about quite as much, like Megalomania, Hole in the Skies, Abracadabra, National Acrobat, Wicked World, Behind the Wall of Sleep, stuff like that. Electric Funeral is one of my favorites. They have so many good songs, and I feel like with the Ozzy era, they don't have any bad songs. Until Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die, which was the last 2 albums they did with him in the 70s. I'm not really a big fan of 13 either. I don't think it's terrible. I just don't listen to it a whole lot. I think it was a good album. It just didn't really blow me away. I'm glad they made it. I'm glad they made another album with Ozzy after all those years, which is awesome. But Devil You Know was way better than 13, in my opinion. I think what they did with Dio recently was way better than what they did with Ozzy.
I honestly felt 13 kind of boring and lackluster.
I agree. I think it was kind of generic.
That's kind of like a
Tony Iommi's riffs
about Black Sabbath.
Yeah, but Tony Iommi's riffs on Devil You Know were amazing. It was like he still had it. He was so creative. On 13, it was good. Nothing bad, but nothing really stood out to me either. The song just kind of generic. It sounded kind of like Ozzy's recent solo output. So overall, I think Dio's a better vocalist, but I kind of prefer Ozzy Sabbath only because they're better songs. And with Dio's albums, Heaven and Hell, Mob Rules, I feel like half of the songs on each album are flawless masterpieces of perfection, and the other half are great songs. So you can almost take half of the songs from each album and put them together and make one amazing, excellent album and another great album. So with Ozzy, albums like Paranoid, Master Reality, and Sabotage, I think are like perfect front to back. So, you know, it depends on what mood I'm in because they're so different. Ozzy Sabbath and Dio Sabbath are like two totally different bands. Even the guitar playing, Tony Iommi's guitar playing was so much different.
He adjusted it for the vocalist.
Exactly,
really cool.
yeah. And like he discovered things didn't know he could do when he had Dio. Dio breathed new life into the band, so it was the right thing to do at the time. It was the best for everybody because then Ozzy had a successful solo career because his last two albums with Sabbath were kind of stale. There's a couple good songs on them, but they're stale. So overall, I'd say Ozzy's the more iconic, more classic Sabbath, but Dio was more, it sounded like a different band. It was more upbeat and more like lighthearted and kind of more tongue-in-cheek with the lyrics, whereas Ozzy's was a little more dreary and more ominous. Yeah, more eerie and kind of, when I think of a band like Black Sabbath, I think of like Ozzy-type songs.
So if you had to choose right now, on the spot,
oh jeez,
Dio or Ozzy's Black Sabbath?
Yeah.
The answer is
Desert Island, I guess I'm going to go with the Ozzy.
Okay,
it pains me to say that, but because again, I think Dio is the better.
You guys heard it here first. He hates Dio.
yeah, you got me. Yeah, no, I think Dio blows Ozzy away with his voice, but I think Ozzy might be the better showman, as far as frontman skills and stage presence goes. I think Ozzy might win on that front.
I don't know.
Dio's a better songwriter. He actually writes lyrics. Ozzy doesn't.
Dio brought the devil horns to metal.
True.
I don't know.
Yeah, Ozzy did the peace signs.
What's more iconic of a stage move than throwing the Maloik?
Touche.
I'm just saying.
Dio's the master of metal.
Yeah. See, for me, for that question, I think Ozzy era Black Sabbath is more Black Sabbath, but Heaven and Hell is my favorite Black Sabbath album, like hands down.
I can see that.
I love it so much. The title track is one of my favorite songs of all time. So I would have to choose the Dio era, I think, but just for that album. But when I think of Black Sabbath, I do think of Ozzy era.
Yeah, most people do, but I wish they did more of Dio.
Yeah.
Then there'd been a lot more.
Absolutely.
Close, but, both of them rule. I can't live without either one of them. So. Alright, so is it my turn now?
Your question for me?
That was actually going to be my question to you, but we both answered that. So,
what do you got?
I got to think of something good.
Oh yeah, you got to put me on the spot here.
Okay, Exodus guitarist, not counting Gary Holt, Rick Hunnell or Lee Altus?
Oh, this is an easy one. Lee Altus.
Really?
Absolutely. I love Lee Altus' guitar playing. I love his other band, Heathen. I just love him as a player in general. Not just saying what songs each one wrote. Yeah. For that, it'd probably be a little different. But as a guitarist, especially one to pair with Gary Holt, Lee Altus is perfect.
I think they're both a good fit.
Him and Gary work so well together, and I think Lee Altus is iconic on his own with Heathen, and then putting him into Exodus is just next level.
He fit very well. Yeah. But it's a very close one for me. I don't know. I think Rick Hunnell was it's kind of like the Ozzy versus Dio. Rick Hunnell was more classic, like the more, he was the 80s Exodus guitars. When I think of Exodus, I kind of think of Rick Hunnell. But I love their later albums, too. I love Timbo the Damned. I think they had some really good creative riffs, even with the Rob Dukes era. Blood In, Blood Out was really good. Yeah, a lot of the riffs are good. So, it's a tough choice.
It's one of those things, for me, when I think of Exodus riffs, I think of those more modern Exodus riffs, because that's, such a unique sound that they have. So it's, unique riff writing.
Altus was definitely a good replacement.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's Kirk Hammett, who was their first guitarist. They formed the band.
Yeah, they were Impaler.
He was there before Gary Holt.
Yeah. But overall, I think I'd have to say Lee Altus. I just love him as a player. I genuinely do.
I can see that, yeah. I can agree with that.
All right, so
Gary Holt's better than both of them. So.
Let me think here. Let's take a step into the world of black metal.
Okay.
And let's go. I don't want to say Mayhem because they're kind of here. So I'm going to go with the next one. So let's go with Dark Throne or Emperor.
Emperor.
Okay.
Well, Dark Throne has a lot more albums. Emperor has, 4?
Maybe.
4 or 5?
I lose track of black metal albums.
Well, yeah, it's hard to keep up. Well, with Emperor, they have In the Night Side Eclipse, which I think might be
incredible.
My favorite black metal album
good.
ever, right up there with Dissection's best work. Probably, In the Night Side Eclipse is probably my favorite black metal album
really
ever. And for a while, Emperor was my favorite black metal band. But then they also have Anthems to the Welcome at Dusk, which is really good too. Yeah, Dark Throne, they have, Translating in Hunger, Under a Funeral Moon, Panzerfaust, and, what's the other one?
Blazing the Northern
Yeah,
Sky.
Blazing the Northern Sky. The Soulside Journey was their first one. They were, more death metal.
Yeah, that was weird. Pretty cool, though.
It's pretty much just Nocturno Occulto and Fenriz behind every album. They're the only two constant members. They've had a lot more albums. There's a lot more to choose from, and more recently they've taken more of a crust punk influence. And I want to say they might be a little more diverse because they've dabbled in several other genres. They began as death metal, now they're more crust punk. They have more great albums than Emperor does. Emperor only has the 2, in my opinion. I'm not really a big fan of their other work. But In the Night Side Eclipse is so flawless. I think it's better than anything Dark Throne has ever done.
Shots fired.
It's close. Don't get me wrong, it's close. I also think that Ishan is a better vocalist and guitarist than Nocturno Culto. Just my personal preference. It's close. Again, it's close. Gosh. When I walking through a forest during the wintertime and snows on the ground, I want to hear Beyond the Great Vast Forest, or I Am the Black Wizards, or Dark Wizards.
In the Night Side Eclipse, it sets the ambiance of walking through a desolate forest.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know when you're out in the winter and there's no sound.
Yeah.
It's that kind of vibe.
Exactly.
It's that weird vibe in album form.
In Dark Throne, you can do a lot of their albums too, but I don't know. I just feel like the Night Side Eclipse is just so great. It's just almost untouchable. It's so iconic. It's just right up there with the Somberlane and Storm of the Light's Bane. Yeah. For me, it's one of the best black metal albums ever. But Dark Throne comes very close. As I said, they might have more great albums than Emperor does, but I think Emperor's greatest albums are slightly better than Dark Throne's. Fair enough. But it's very close. You can't go wrong with either one.
So you go with Emperor then?
Overall.
Okay.
What do you think?
Fair enough. I think I'd go with Dark Throne.
I can see that.
And the Night Side Eclipse is so good, but Emperor overall isn't as good as Dark Throne in my opinion, because for me, Under a Funeral Moon, Blazing the Northern Sky, those are just two insane albums. Under a Funeral Moon is one of my favorite black metal albums of all time. The title track is one of my favorite black metal songs of all time. It's one of the best riffs ever written.
I agree.
And that just really stands for me, especially because it's got that more... It's not necro lo-fi, but it's lower-fi. It's on that more black metal radar, whereas the Emperor is a little more refined, which is completely fine. But when I think of pure black metal, Under a Funeral Moon is one of the first things I think of.
I'd say In the Night Side Eclipse is number one. Then we have Dark Throne's best work, and then we have everything else Emperor's done for me. So if there was no In the Night Side Eclipse, I'd probably go with Dark Throne as well. Also, the Wrath of the Tyrant EP from Emperor was also extremely good, and the self-titled EP, Emperor. Ancient Queen is one of the best songs I've ever heard in my life, ever. That little breakdown riff at the end, which I had to learn how to play that whole song because it was so awesome. Oh, yeah. I even did a cover of it with one of my bands, which was really fun. It's a close one, but
fair enough.
I'm glad we have different viewpoints. It makes it a little more interesting. All right, so it's my turn to ask you one.
Your turn. I think after this one, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I think we each got about 5 or
something like that. We're just winging it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Make it a good one.
Yeah, make it a good one. Yeah, I wanted to go with something death or Chuck Schuldiner related, but if I say death or Chuck Schuldiner versus anybody else, I already know the answers because they're going to beat everybody.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Damn, this is tough. Gotta think of something really good.
You're on the spot.
I should have wrote these down first.
No, it's cool.
Yeah, I want to think of a musician now because we already did bands.
Okay.
And
you already did musicians as well.
Well, yeah, true.
What about albums?
Could do an album,
or something.
Which death album?
Pit 2 albums at me.
Yeah, like Leprosy versus Individual Thought Patterns or something. But that's too obvious. Let's get a little more creative than that.
It's the last one. Make it good. Make it count. I'm gonna keep stressing you out. We can't think.
What's what do you consider as Death's best album? Leprosy.
Leprosy.
Me too. What's Demolition Hammer's best album?
Tortured Existence.
Yeah, that one. Okay, which album's better?
Oh,
Leprosy
no.
or Tortured Existence?
No. Oh.
I had to think of it. Hey, you got me with the Ozzy versus Dio, so I had to get revenge.
Oh man.
Payback.
Oh no.
For me, I'd say Leprosy, but it's close.
Crap.
It's close.
See, for those of you who don't know, Death and Demolition Hammer are my two favorite bands of all time. They're tied for me.
Great choices.
I love them equally. And these are my two favorite albums of all time. Oh, no. See, because Leprosy is so iconic and means so much to me from like a historical standpoint. The album's always meant so much to me. Yeah. Every song's flawless in both albums, though. So, I'm going to go with Leprosy by the slimmest of margins. By, like, the wind could blow, and I would say Tortured Existence. By that slim of a margin. Because if you guys have listened to Tortured Existence, you're messing up. It's flawless front to back. It's the heaviest album ever written, and it's in, like, E standard, I think. So, figure that one out. It's just the pure riffs and the madness in the album.
How did they do that?
It's incredible. But Leprosy is just really iconic for me. I think that's kind of what edged it, the sheer iconicness of it versus Demolition Hammers. I think they're equal albums, but if I had to choose, I guess I would go with Leprosy, because I mean you got like the top track Leprosy, Open Casket, Pull the Plug, like so many good songs. Born to Die, the death screams. Like, on this album, Chuck Lorre sounds like a woman getting stabbed at certain parts.
Yeah, sounds like he's about to vomit on the
yeah. But then you go across the Demolition Hammer, and that's insane, too, which is some of the fastest, heaviest songs. You have 44 caliber brain surgery, infectious hospital waste, gelid remains, parasital epitaph, which is one of the heaviest songs ever written. But I guess Leprosy by this much. I guess. What would you choose?
Leprosy.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I'm a much bigger Death fan than I am Demolition Hammer.
It hurts me.
I love Demolition Hammer, but I'm not as familiar with them as I am with Death. And I think Leprosy had some of the best death metal musicians. I mean, I have Chuck Schuldiner, who's the godfather of death metal. I mean, obviously, and we have Rick Ross, Terry Butler, and Bill Andrews, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the musicians behind that album were just superb. It's such a spectacular outing. Yep. Every song's good. Like, you know, I mean, Forgotten Past might be my favorite. Yeah. Pull the Plug.
Yeah.
The title track. So many great songs. Open Casket's great. Great guitar solos, great vocals, great riffs. Like, I think I don't have anything bad to say about Leprosy. I don't have anything bad to say about Tortured Existence either. I think it's a very great album, but I don't listen to it quite as much as Leprosy. It doesn't mean as much to me as Leprosy did. It didn't have as big of an impact on my life, but
for me, it's like right there for me, because like I said, Demolition Hammer is my favorite band along with Death. I can't choose between them, but I had to here.
Death would be in my top 10 favorite bands of all time. Demolition Hammer would probably be like maybe my top 30.
Yeah,
but
fair enough. Either way, appreciate you guys watching. If you have any future videos you would like us to make, let us know. We are open to suggestions and would love to make some videos that you guys would like to see.
Yeah, give us your ideas.
Any ideas? 100% open to it. We're thinking about doing some more lists soon. We also like having fun videos like this where we just kind of BS back and forth.
Yeah, this is fun. We should do this again. I think it made for some good discussion. So eventually we'll do it this or that too, probably.
Absolutely. All right, guys.
I really enjoyed this.
Well, again, I've been Dr. Gutts.
I'm Hellhound.
Keep it metal.